Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. My name's Preston and welcome to the news. In the news we cover all the latest updates on Twitter and the official websites. And let's jump straight into our first set of news here. The release of 3 Days 2 Years Starter Deck 14. It's coming soon. Now, whether or not you consider this a newsworthy event, it is happening, and I'll probably pick some up just in case this actually becomes a thing, but so far I have not seen anyone focusing on this starter deck, unfortunately. But it's happening, and if you don't know what's in this deck, just in case, I'll put the link in the description to the card list that is out, so you can check out all the cards, and maybe you can be the one that changes what this deck does and make it relevant, because so far I do not think there's enough support in this set or any sets that come after to make this playable, but that doesn't mean that they're not still pushing it forward. These cards could become more relevant with the black purple Luffy, but hold your breath, it might not ever happen. It could just be cards that go into your collection that might be relevant several years down the road. We don't know yet. With that being said, that's that. We'll move on to our next thing. On the official website, there is the announcement for Star Regionals for the month of October. This is a North American exclusive event, and it goes to your local card shops, which needs to go to the rest of the world. The rest of the world needs these opportunities to have qualifying events for their national tournaments so that good players can be recognized for their abilities. And I don't know, it's something that everywhere needs. Now, if you're in North America, reach out to your store, see if they're participating in the October regionals. If they are, your sign-up dates are September 10th to the 16th. Talk to your store, get signed up. These are fairly large 64-plus man tournaments. And you get participation. If your tournament is over 64, you get an extra event pack. You get some other stuff for topping. The big thing is top 2 get invites to the North American finals, which is super cool for people that can't make it to these huge events that are only usually in the four corners. Yeah, it's a nice change of pace so that you can get a chance to go to Florida at the end of this year or beginning of next year, whenever that last Worlds event is, Nationals events is, so that you can get a chance to play at Worlds. But yeah, nothing as of like what the price support actually looks like other than the names and stuff, Event Pack Volume 5. But yeah, this is a really cool thing that they're doing. I hope that the rest of the world gets this soon, because I can't imagine this not being a success for not only the tournament organizer, but also the players being able to participate in a highly competitive environment among their comfort of their local store. So fingers crossed that this goes everywhere. But with that being said, let's jump into our Twitter card reveals. We got quite a few Op09 cards, and we're going to start here with this cutie little Marshall D. Teach. Marshall D. Teach, black character, 3 cost 4k power, Whitebeard Pirates. Counter, 1k counter. Activate main, you may rest this character. If your hand has 3 or more fewer cards than your opponent's hand, draw 2 cards, then discard 1. So kind of a complicated read there. The translation, I think, is too direct. So if your hand is 3 less or more than your opponent's hand, so if they have 5 and you have 2, you get to draw 2 cards and discard 1. Or if they have 6 and you have 3, math. I think this is really a really interesting card because it has a very cool effect, and it may be super playable in this Blackbeard deck, except for the fact that it does not have Blackbeard Pirates. This is a younger Teach with his claws out, and obviously no beard, and it only has Whitebeard Pirates. So your Blackbeard Pirate deck does not have a searcher for it, which kind of makes it harder to be playable. it has a really fun effect. I don't know where it's going to get played yet, but it has a really fun effect, so it could see quite a bit of play just because of that. If your deck is very low in hand already, being able to see some new cards and then discard and stuff and set stuff up might just work well in the current black meta. With that being said, let's move on to the next card. Next up we have, this is the Richie card. This is the one that's going to get searched out by I think it's Moji, that only searches for Richie. Richie, blue character, 2 cost, 2k power, animal, cross guild, 1k counter, blocker. That's it. It's just a blocker. It's searchable by the Moji that we saw a couple weeks ago. Don't know if that's a good enough combo to actually like play the 2 cards. Depending on how cross guild pans out, it might be a nice way to cheese out the blocker, because I believe the Moji allows you to play a Richie if you have one in hand. So you get a free blocker for, I think the Moji is a 5 cost searcher cheesed out with the leader, and then Richie comes out, so you get 7 cost. I don't know. I mean, it's just a blocker. There's not much there. And that goes on to the couple of cards this week. There's not much there to talk about. It's just a blocker. Like this card, this Ussop, not much going on. Gorgeous art. Absolutely love this style. I think it imitates like a very good like manga version of the character, but it's not an Oda art. It's pretty cool. Very nicely done. Ussop, purple character, 4 cost, 6k power, straw hat crew, 1k counter. No original effect. 4 cost, 6k power. Quite nice. I feel like there's usually 1 per archetype, maybe 2 per archetype at different levels of like 3 5s or 4 6 and all that stuff. So having that extra little oomph is nice to have in your deck. So vanillas actually get a weird amount of play in this game. Let's move on to our next character. It's a promo that's coming out, part of some event. We'll see it eventually as one of the event packs. This is Lim, green character, 2 cost, 0 power, Odyssey, 1k counter, blocker. End of your turn, if you have 2 or more Odyssey type rested characters, this character is active. Set this character as active. So, as we know, the Lim leader sets when stuff gets played, they get played as rested. So if you have 2 other characters that are rested, this character becomes active, and then it's a 0 power blocker. It's something. I'm still not super excited about this archetype, and I'm not really seeing anything that is getting me excited for it. So we'll have to see how it pans out, because it feels like a very underwhelming deck so far. So it needs something to really make it feel worthy of play. With that being said, we got another promo that is included in the same like format. You get one of these promos, you'll get the other promo in the tournament that it's part of. In any case, this is Adio. Green character, 4 cost, 5k power, Odyssey, 2k counter. If you have 2 or more Odyssey type rested characters, this character gains 1000 power. So this is a pretty decent 2k counter that makes himself stronger when there's rested characters on board. It's interesting. It's probably still not enough because he's going to be rested the first turn he's played. So even if you have a ton of cards on board, he's a 6k rested character that if your opponents really wanted to, they will find a way to get rid of it, either by attacking through him or just using their card effects like everyone else does, just to lower his cost and KO him, or lower his power and KO him, send him back to your hand. There's a lot of ways to get rid of cards in this game, and each color has their own like type. This is not a particularly strong character or high cost. It's fairly easily removable, but it is a 2k counter, so that deck will probably play it just to keep the options open, since they probably won't have too many 2k counters. Now let's move on to our next card. This is Rockstar, red character, 4 cost, 6k power, red hair pirates, 1k counter, no original effect. I was just talking about Ussop. Every archetype usually has 1 or 2 of these guys at different levels, and this one here is just the red hair pirates version. We are getting a very similar art style as the Teach, because it's I checked, it's the same artist. We've also seen this art style before. I think there's a Garp that looks like this, and it's probably all the same artist, which I'm super glad that we're getting this look. It's super cute, and I am a fan. Moving on to the next card, because there's not much you can say about these vanillas. Red hair pirates got one. The straw hats will get one. The Blackbeard pirates will probably get one. The Odyssey cards will probably get one, but it doesn't need it because it's just a target. Yeah, moving on to Sabo. Sabo, yellow character, 7 cost, 7k power, revolutionary army, 1k counter. On play, place up to 1 revolutionary army type character from your hand to the top of your life face up. Then, if you have 2 or more life, put the top or bottom card of your life into your hand. Trigger, if your leader is multicolored, draw 2 cards. This is interesting. I think there's 2 leaders that can play this that are multicolored that could benefit from that trigger. You got the obvious Sabo leader from the 3 brothers. You also have Bello Betty, which is red-yellow. I think those are the only 2 Revolutionary Army leaders currently that have yellow in them, with Dragon just being mono-red. Weird little technicalities aside, this is going to take a card from your hand, put it into your life. Then you're probably only going to play it when you have 2 or you'll end up with 2 or more life, so that you can then pick up a card and put it into your hand. So this puts the card to the top of your life. You're going to be picking up the bottom cards. If you activate the effect and put down a card and pick up a card, the same card kind of seems weird to me. I don't know why you would do that. But yeah, putting a card to the top of your life, taking your bottom card of your life so that you can actually like place triggers and stuff like that is interesting. And then a trigger of draw 2 when it's most likely always going to be played in a red-yellow deck is pretty nice. I really like draw 2 as a trigger, especially because the main effect requires you to have a Revolutionary Army type character in your hand to place to the top of your life. So there is some limitations there in its on-play effect, and I don't know why you would play it if you can't activate its effect fully. It's an interesting card. I hope to see Bello Betty and red-yellow Sabos playing revolutionary armies and really building into the archetype that they were made for. I think Bello Betty has a really interesting place the more cards come out for it that are playable in its archetype, because she gets way better when she has a very specific thing, I think. But yeah, moving on to our next card. Gum Gum Giant, 1 cost, purple event for Emperor Straw Hat Crew. Counter, Don -2. You may trash 1 card from your hand. If your leader has Straw Hat Crew type, give up to 1 of your leaders or characters plus 4,000 power for this battle. Then draw 2 cards. That's a pretty decent plus 4k power counter card. You have to do a lot, so you have to have a card in your hand as cost to ditch. You're probably not playing this anytime early, because that -2 is not going to be fun for you early, but it's going to be totally fine late game. If you're at 10 Dawn, you -2 and go to 8 Dawn at the start of your turn, you're back at 10 Dawn, not a big deal. I don't imagine you wanting to do this early, especially because at the end of the game, plus 4k power is quite nice. But on top of that, having to have a card in hand to get rid of is a decent cost. Having to have actually 2 cards in your hand. You have to have this and 1 other card to activate its effect. And then you get to draw 2, which is quite nice. I just said I like drawing 2 cards. This is quite nice to draw 2 cards. With card hand math, it's a breaking even type thing, but you're seeing 2 new cards. Play the card, that's a -1. You ditch a card, that's a -1. You draw 2 cards, that's a +2. You're breaking even, but you got 2 new cards. It's kind of like boy math, girl math type walking around the post of what is actually good value. I like it. I think it's really interesting. I think we will probably see this in our black-purple Luffy deck because we're going to always want to have new cards in hand. Moving on to our last card of the day. I won't forgive anyone who messes with my friends. 2-cost red event, red-haired pirates. Main, if your leader has a red-haired pirates type, give up to one of your opponent's characters -3,000 power for this turn. Then, if your opponent has a character with 5,000 power or greater in play, draw a card. Trigger, draw a card. It's a 2-cost red event. That if we want to play around events with red, we can. We have Buggy that I think can search any red event, if not a very specific red event, but can search red events. My main problem with this is it's a 2-cost event that doesn't kill anything. It doesn't KO, it doesn't remove, it just minuses power for the turn. And it's only minusing characters' powers for the turn. So I don't see any KO potential with the red-haired pirates yet. There's a lot of minuses and they're good. The leader, there's quite a few characters that have -1,000 power, either on play or on attack or whatever. But I haven't seen any like KO all characters with X or KO a character with X. We do have that in red already, so they don't need it unless they want it to be searchable. We have like Red Rocks and all of the early stuff that did that. We have so many red events that came around when Ace was a relevant leader and when Ace came out. So we have KO potential in other type, in like the other red cards, but we don't have it quite yet with red-haired pirates. So we have all of this potential of minusing power, but we don't have anything to do except for attack over them, which, as we know, we don't want to do that. We want to use another card to get rid of it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm iffy on this card and on the red-haired pirates archetype so far because we don't know what's happening with them. But once we do know, we can actually generate a decent opinion on whether it's going to be playable or if it's not good enough to even stand up to the current meta that's being played right now. But with that being said, that is the last card that we have for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you excited for store regionals? Are any of the cards that we reviewed this week game-changing for you? I don't think they are, but I think they do build up into something that will be relevant at some point. But with that being said, if you want to get more One Piece TCG content, hit that subscribe. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. And until next time, peace.